What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to G-Ball Vision. Today we are taking a deep dive into possibly the best Spyderco knife in existence, the Spyderco Manix 2, and in the case of this one, we are looking at Spyderco's M390 steel, which is a perfect fit for a knife like this. I think M390 does a pocket knife very well, and this has a little bit thinner of a blade stock compared to like the Shaman. Comes down nice and thin. You have that satin finish blade. It is a beautiful finish. Fingerprint magnet to the gills though. You have that nice leaf shape drop point blade. Going to be a very user friendly blade because you have this full finger choil like a lot of Spydercos do. You'll be able to get right up on that tip for precision type cuts, detailed type cuts, and because of that full finger choil, you'll be able to lock in behind that edge and really have a lot of control and power over this blade, which I really appreciate. You have the ball lock in there, which is disengaged similarly to a crossbar lock. You have tabs on both sides. Definitely a different locking system than a crossbar lock, but that is, the way that it's disengaged by two tabs on the side. Pull them down and this will disengage. There is a spring in there with the detent ball, and it is called the ball cage lock. You have brown G10 handles, and in this case, I took the old Spyderco OEM clip off and put a Lynch Northwest fall Damascus clip on here. It's like a fall Damascus or a faux Damascus. Looks pretty good with the brown G10. So my question is, why do people think this is the best Spyderco of all time? In my opinion, I disagree with that. I don't think this is the best Spyderco of all time. I do think it is a good knife, and I think it's a great knife. I think it is in the upper tier of Spyderco's line of knives, especially the ones I've tried. Now, I do prefer a couple other ones. We'll get a couple specs, and we'll kind of touch on that stuff here. Now, we're looking at 2 3/4 of cutting edge, 3 1/4 of total blade, and then all the way down here to the bottom of the pocket clip, you're looking at 7 15/16, almost 8 inches there to that very tip. Now, let's go ahead and we'll check the weight on this guy. The G10 version is going to be a little bit heavier than the lightweight version, but I will take the weight on this guy any day, every day, 10 times out of 10 over the lightweight version. I don't really like the plastic handles. They can become somewhat slippery in a sense. The wire pocket clip that comes on them, you just can't get on there, at least with my hands. In order to disengage this, I typically lock a couple of my fingers on the pocket clip there. And I always found myself either sliding up over the clip. Now, I'm pretty sure they do make an aftermarket clip for the lightweight version. But even at that point, it was such a thin, slippery knife that I couldn't get along with it. It wasn't something I carried. It wasn't something I cared for. And then I got this version, and I did fall in love with the model. You'll have to bear with any fingerprints on this guy because it is a fingerprint magnet. But I do love this knife, but I do not think it is the best Spyderco. Let's go ahead and we'll throw up a couple comparisons here. We have the Benchmade Bug Out in S90V. We have the original 80 20.5 there. We have the Hogue Deca here. And those are going to be quite a bit smaller than the Manix 2. The Ritter RSK will be a fair comparison. And now we'll get into some other Spydercos here. We have the Para 3 That is the Knife Center exclusive in Crewwear. And then we have the Cutlery Shop exclusive Wharncliffe or using XHP. Now, the PM2 is a little bit bigger than the Manix 2. The Parrot 3 is going to be quite a bit smaller. That's more of a secondary knife. And we might as well bring out the Shaman, which is the king of Spydercos, in my opinion. And that's okay if you disagree. Everybody is welcome to their own opinions here. If it's not the Shaman, to me, it's the PM2, but with a caveat. I want the Wharncliffe version. The Drop Point and the Tanto, which I have both. I do like both, but there's just something about this Wharncliffe blade. You get that nice pokey tip with the long, straight, slicey edge. There's just something about the PM2 Wharncliffe. They're going to have fairly similar blade stocks, made more for slicing, where the Shaman is going to have a little bit thicker of a blade stock than, say, the Manix 2. And while we're talking about that, why don't we go ahead and check this guy and see what he's coming in at. We are on zeros, and coming in about 117. We'll pick a random spot here and check that edge. And right about there, it's coming down around 14 thousandths. So it's fairly thin behind the edge, no question about it. The Shaman is looking at more like 141 behind the blade stock, and then behind the edge, we are looking at around 15 thousandths behind the edge in that particular spot, of course. So the Shaman is going to be a little bit more brute force. You have that thicker blade stock, still coming down nice and thin. Basically a full flat grind. You do have a little flat here, but for the most part, it is a full flat grind, or pretty damn close. With the Manix, you are getting a full flat grind. Now, is there going to be much of a difference in the slicing, between the two? Maybe a touch, but I'm not all about, edge retention and how slicey something is. I do like knives geared for that because I have uses for them. But if we're talking about an all-around user, something I can slice with, carry as an EDC, use as a work knife, it's going to have a strong lock, be dependable, be comfortable. I'm going with the Shaman over the Manix 2. Now, this is just the S30V version, but this is more knife than, I could ever need. S30 is a perfect steel. It's a good all-around steel, and it fits the Shaman very, very well. Now, how does the Manix 2 cut? And we will see what she's looking like on some thin paper. And I can tell you guys, this thing is ultra sharp, ultra slicey, just like most Spydercos come out of factory. Very, very sharp, guys. I mean, this is out of box. This was one of the sharpest knives I have ever owned. Very, very sharp edge, and it's still just ridiculously sharp, guys. Yeah, that wants to butt, and that's after, not a ton of use, but it has some use on it, guys. Now, in the case of this knife, like I was saying earlier, this is going to be a nice knife to get up in that finger choil with your middle finger and get up on that tip with your pointer finger and make them precision, detailed type cuts. And what I always talk about is you can use your pointer finger as a gauge. So if you're cutting through something, but you have, say underneath of it is a brand new $1,000 door. You don't want to just jam this in there and, start cutting away. You have maybe a half inch until you hit that door. You can kind of gauge, I'll go in just through the material and use your finger as that gauge. And I love being able to do that because, and see, you don't go into that other material. I love having that capability because oftentimes, we are remodeling things. We're putting in new accessories to the houses or the apartments, and we are often opening things up that are very expensive that cannot have a big gash or big cut in it. So that's important to me. And I'm not saying this isn't a fantastic knife. I'm not saying it's not a work knife. I'm not saying that it's not a slicing knife or anything like that, or that it doesn't have a nice, strong, dependable lock, because all them things are true about this knife. But in the case of Best Spyderco, I have really fallen on the side of the Shaman. I used to be, when I didn't have a Shaman and I just had PM2s, Para 3s, Smocks, Manix 2s, I really was a huge fan of just the drop point PM2. And then I got the Shaman, and then I got this guy, and, those two became my favorites of all time, in that order. Shaman number 1, PM2, Wharncliffe number 2. And since we have it out, we might as well cut this one up too. But if you've never experienced a Manix 2, I would say, out of the Para 3, PM2, the Shaman, and the Manix 2, this is going to be maybe the one that a lot of new people to Spyderco could go with, because you have that useful blade shape. You have a fairly familiar locking system. If they're used to crossbar locks, it's going to be the same disengagement. I love that jimping on the back of this knife and through here and here. Just works very good to lock you in. This is a great knife, guys. Don't get me wrong. You'll have to let me know what your favorite Spyderco is down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about, what your favorite one is. And maybe you don't even have one. Let me know which one you're looking at maybe to get. But if I could tell you, to get your first one, a lot of people think the PM2 and the Para 3 are ugly knives or whatever, and I just don't see it. They are a very functional knife, and we've been over that before. Once you get one and hold it in hand and realize how comfortable they are, how much control over the edge and the tip that you have, you kind of change your thought process on the Spyderco line of knives. And then when you start getting into utility monsters that are still functional, like the Shaman, the Warney PM2, the Manix 2, these are the 3 knives right here. Maybe add in the Smock, but I still put these 3 ahead of the Smock, in my opinion. But if you're getting your first one, I would go with one of these 3. Now, this is going to be hard to get. I don't think these are in stock anymore. But the basic base PM2 is going to be very similar to these. So because you can't get this, I would probably get one between these 2. And it's just, they're very similar blade shapes. They're very similar blade shapes, fairly similar ergos. They both have a full choke up spot. They both have a nice, fairly neutral handle. The Shaman more so than the Manix 2. But, I like the handle on this more than the Manix 2 as well. It just fills my hand and fits my hand better. But the Manix 2 would still be a fantastic option, and it would be highly recommendable. Now, I wouldn't recommend trying out a Manix 2 and getting a lightweight version. That's just my opinion. I would get a G10 one, and then if you really love this knife, then you can either get aftermarket scales for it if you want it to be possibly a little lighter. I like the weight to this. I prefer it, actually. But, you know, if you really love it and then you wanted to try a lightweight one, then you could go that route. But for all intents and purposes, I would go with the G10 version. We got a little tape goop there. But this knife carries very good, whether you have the OEM clip or an aftermarket Lynch or MXG clip. It's going to carry very well. You know, if you're getting it for a work user, you know, an everyday user, then I could definitely see just leaving the standard clip on there. If it's going to be more of, you know, a casual carry, just an everyday carry, you don't really have a lot of like work use for it, then I could definitely see putting a deeper carry clip on it. They're both going to be very good. The ergos are great. The materials are good. The price point is going to be fairly good, especially on most of their exclusives. They routinely fall under the price of the base versions, so, or right around the same. So you're getting a good usable drop point blade, good ergos, lots of jimping all over to lock you in, just locks you in rock solid. I'd love to see this finer jimping run down here a little more. That way, if you're in the choked up spot, man, this jimping ran down a little bit more would be just a game changer with this knife for me. It would just lock you in even more. Now, if you're back here, you know, you are locked in rock solid, and you are in this position too, but just a little change I would love to see with this knife. But let me know down in the comments what you think. What's your favorite Spyderco of all time, or what's your favorite one that you've handled? What one are you looking at? If you don't have one, make sure you hit that thumbs up button before you head out. And if you're new to the channel or you've been here before and you are not subscribed, hit that subscribe button down below. I would love to have you here. I'm going to throw up 3 new videos here, here, and here. Go check one of those out, and I will catch you on the next one.